As entrepreneurs, it's best if you can turn on a dime when you need to, or pivot when something doesn't work. I mean, when you're a small business, you have the ability to pivot and change and do whatever you need. You never arrive. You can do some really great things that you're real proud of, and that's great, but it's a constant learning. It's a constant trying new things. And to me, that's fun. My piece of advice would be to bet on yourself. No matter what you're doing, there's something that you really want, something you want to achieve. I would say to bet on yourself and to try. When you set high prices, maybe not everyone can afford it, but...
Welcome, guys, to another episode of Rebel Roots. I am totally fangirling today with Wendy from Chair Whimsy on the podcast today. And I was just talking to her before we hit the record button, and I just admire this lady, and she doesn't even know why yet. I didn't tell her because I thought I wanted to save it for a surprise on the podcast. But here's why I find things so good is because you know exactly who you are. You are truly authentic to your brand, to your content, to you. I mean, just from the car that you drive, the house, everything inside the house. I just think it is so empowering that you have a brand and you know exactly who you are. And I think that is so amazing.
Thanks. It's been a discovery though for many years. At first I didn't think that I knew, but I think people thought I did. But I was trying a lot of things, but the knowing comes in the doing, really.
I actually heard that earlier this week. Someone was like, well, what's my message? And someone said, just go out and do, and you will find who you are through trial and error. I think so many of us in the entrepreneurial world, they're like, well, what's the message? Or if you're speaking or something, like, what's my message? And you really do just have to go out there and do and trial and error it. I didn't know. I started in X-ray and then somehow got to a food chain. You know what I mean? How did that work? I had no clue. But take me back from, I guess, who you were and then how this amazing brand came to life.
Well, about 2012, I took an upholstery course. I had always wanted to. I love chairs for whatever reason. It was just, it's just something I always wanted to buy them when I would see them at antique stores or flea markets. And so I had decided, I wanted to take a course and learn how to do it right. Because I had kind of tried to do some things to my chairs, but it's like, don't look behind, kind of thing. And so I took a class down in South Austin. It was about for 6 weeks. Every Saturday I go down there. So I was an educational consultant, wrote a lot of books, did a lot of teacher trainings, and had been a teacher before that. And so I really liked my job. I got to be real creative in the way I wrote and the way I presented to my audiences. And I was just doing this as a hobby. And I really loved it. I'm the kind of person that I try different hobbies because I think being a beginner in a lot of things makes you better at your job, especially if your job relies on any kind of creativity. And so this was just another one of those hobbies. But once I finished my courses, I had to take 2 because I forgot during the first one, what I had learned because, it was in person. And I don't think in-person classes are better because you can't remember when you go home. You're like, wait, how did I do that? What did I do? And so I had to take it again. And by the end of the second time, I had about 5 or 6 chairs, and I thought, well, let's just see if I can get my money back. That's all I was thinking. And I opened an Etsy shop, and in 2 weeks, I had my first sale. And I was like, oh, how do I ship this thing to New York City from Austin? So it's like a whole nother journey. And I started getting a lot of messages and some orders that were more custom. People like, I really like this chair, but I need 4 of them. Can you do that? Or I like this chair, but I need, something in blue instead of red. And so I was like, oh, okay, people want custom things. So I was just kind of learning. And I was just doing little chair orders here and there. And, once you start selling some things, it gets you excited, right? And so you start thinking, wow, this is interesting. This is kind of fun. So it became more than just a little hobby. It started becoming a side hustle at that point. But I still had my job. And, but then as I started doing more chairs and liking more chairs, it seems like my job satisfaction kind of was going down a little bit. And so it was this switch to, oh, I wish I could do this full time, but there was no way I could match my salary, and we needed my salary. It wasn't like I was working for fun. I had to contribute. And so it took a long time before I could quit my day job, but it was a journey for sure. And I just started out knowing, all I knew was I like doing this. I like doing chairs. This is kind of fun. This is fun to see if I could make money, doing this and helping people have something custom in their own homes.
All right. But you just have a certain style about you. So how did you get into the wild colors? Were you always this whimsical, like through all this, or, I was expecting a bright pink sweater on you today, but you're kind of muted colors. So
yeah, I decided to wear a warmer sweater today. So it's cold here. My style, it's evolved over time for sure. Like, yes, have I ever done beige, gray, things like that in my home? Yes, I did. Can you believe it?
No.
But that was kind of right at the beginning when people were doing that. And I didn't quite know what my, style was. I didn't know what, I was experimenting, so that's and that's what I tell people to do who take my online course. It's like, just experiment with some things. Some things you're going to love and some things you're not, and that's okay. You can redo it, if you end up, wanting to. And that's kind of how, again, the knowing is in the doing, like learning. But I've always loved decorating my home. I've always loved putting things together. Like, even when we were students in student housing, like, we didn't have any money, but we had the nicest place decorated because I just knew how to do things on a shoestring. And I cared about my surroundings. Like, that has been something that's always mattered to me. I like unique things. And, so developing my style, and it's still changing. Like, there are still things. This is what's so fun, is that you never arrive. You can do some really great things that you're real proud of, and that's great. But like, it's a constant learning. It's a constant trying new things. And to me, that's fun. So that's what keeps it interesting, and it doesn't get stale, in that way. But yes, I love colorful chairs. I like the chairs to kind of be the star in the room. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I look at it. And then everything else can kind of go along with the chair. So I think everyone who decorates or designs, they have a starting point. It could be people with rugs, or it could be their wallpaper or paint or whatever. I start with the chairs, and then everything else works its way into the design in the room.
No, I love that. It's almost kind of like you work backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
I can totally get down with that. Okay, so you took the chairs, but now you have aprons, you have planners, you have cards. I'm like, again, this is everything that I want in my Rebel brand. Now, we're totally opposite. I'm going to have black and little gothic and Western and cow prints. But what you're doing on your side is, like, again, I'm total fangirl of you and been watching you. Yeah. So how did you take it from chairs, upholstery to now you got how many products? 10?
So this is something new. I have been taking art lessons, learning to paint for the past couple years. And, I finally got to the point this fall. It's like, all right, I need to do something with this. Of course, me, I have to take it to the next level. I can't just be satisfied. But I was starting to make some paintings that I really liked, and that I thought, ooh, this might be cute on an apron, or this might be really fun, on a tea towel or on a journal or whatever. And so I just decided, I just set a date, and I said, okay, I'm going to do an online pop-up shop. and just see if anybody likes this, because I didn't know. And it really was a test. And my attitude was either I do this and let people see it and make a choice, or I climb in a hole and I don't show them. I don't show people. And I don't think if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to show people and doesn't want to sell your art, there's nothing wrong with that, but for me, I had a choice to make. It's either, okay, don't complain, because you get a choice here. You can either try it and see if anyone likes it, or you can decide not to do it. And so, I just decided I'm going to do this pop-up shop online for 3 days. I want to see, does anyone like any of my art? Because I honestly didn't know if anyone would buy anything. And I had a few little products. I tested, just a few things that I thought were really cute. And, it did really, really well, and then I did an in-person little art show at my friend's boutique shop in Louisiana. And so we did a Saturday there, and that was a lot of fun in person, getting to talk to people. And I got to take a couple extra things, like a few chairs to sell in addition to my art. And then I did another pop-up shop a couple weeks ago. I wanted to do it all early enough to get everything out for Christmas, because I didn't want to be like panicking at Christmas trying to get things mailed to people in time and everything. But so I've tested to see, okay, right, people like these certain things, and it's interesting to look at the trends. And I think you have to kind of step back and remove yourself when you're an artist, because you can't get your feelings hurt about, people are drawn to certain things, and it's just data. Like, if you can just step back and say, okay, this is data, and people are drawn to this print and this kind of product and whatever, and so I've been kind of testing the market, and now I'm looking ahead to, okay, what do I want to do next? So it's a puzzle to try to figure out. But this is in the moment trying to figure it out, honestly.
Yeah. And you don't sound stressed. You actually sound like you're having fun with it. And yeah, I think that's another big thing, is that when we're looking for the next thing, some of us get so focused on it and what it is that you forget the process of that. And that's actually a whole entrepreneurial, I feel like, spirit, is that you're just exactly how you said. I'm just trying it out. And if it doesn't work, and then you have the other one that has a business plan, and a spreadsheet and and I'm just like, I can't do that. So
I can't either. And honestly, if I have to say, I think it's better when you don't, because you need to be scrappy. And you need to pay attention to what people are interested in, what they say about what you're creating or what you're doing, because that's how you get feedback, because we get in our own little bubbles. We think things have to be done a certain way. But I look at great entrepreneurs like Sarah Blakely. She did everything by the seat of her pants. And often, like, we think that may not be good, but why isn't that good? Like, what? Right. She's a billionaire, she did pretty good, I find a lot of empowerment when I see a lot of very successful entrepreneurs and people who will pay attention to, like, okay, we talk about email writing, a lot of people feel like, oh, this has to be done weeks in advance, has locked and loaded, ready to go out. And I find it's better when you write it in the moment, because you're in the moment. You've just heard comments, or you've just read some things, or people have just emailed you some interesting things, and it gives you the idea of the message right then. And that is not the same as a person that flies by the seat of their pants irresponsibly. It is a person who listens to what is going on and figures out the message and what they need to say. So I see a very distinct difference there. And I think it's good to, as entrepreneurs, it's best if you can, like, turn on a dime when you need to, or pivot, when something doesn't work. Because, when you're a small business, you have the ability to pivot and change and do whatever you need. But honestly, being scrappy, I think that's what's gotten me here, is being scrappy.
I agree with you. And I, someone will come, not that you don't have a plan in a business, but if you plan that far out, how are you ever supposed to we kind of had like a little internal argument the other day, which they'll probably get me here for this, but they're like, you need our LTOs, which is our limited time offers for the cafes, out a year and ahead. And I'm like, why do we have to do that? I was like, what if there's a trend that comes out there and we want to do that right now? Like now we have the time to pivot, but if we have, 10 to 15 months ahead, I'm like, no, we can't do that. And so it's okay to have some things, in the future, but I always think that you should pivot exactly like you said. And, there's a lot of business. I mean, COVID, if you take COVID for a minute, everyone was in that, but if you could pivot fast, then you were okay. Right. And come up from other things. I hate bringing up COVID again, but that was just a pivotal moment for business and entrepreneurs. If you could pivot with that change, you could almost, pivot the rest of the company with that. All right. So tell me, are you a one-man team? Like, are you writing these emails by yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's me. Yeah.
And you're doing all your social media.
I do all my social media. And I feel very strongly about that for myself because I want it to be real. I want there to be real relationships, right? Real connection. And I don't think I could do that if someone else was doing it for me. Like I would be detached from it, right? And so I do it myself. I feel like my messaging is authentic. It's from me. And it's best from me, So that's just kind of a rule I've set up for myself. I mean, I can't always get to all my comments or all my DMs, but I try, I do my best, but I don't stay on social media all day either. I have limits. Like I got to get work done, right? So I got a lot to do. And so I'll do it some and then I make them back later that night and try to finish up a little more, but yeah, it's just, I feel very strongly about the messaging needs to come from me. Now, I have people who I hire for a project. If I need some copy written for a web landing page or something like that, I have a really great copywriter that I work with, and we've been working together since 2018, 2019, and she knows my brand really, really well. She knows me. And so we work really well together, and she's super creative. So she can help me think of things for my brand that I can't even think of because I'm so close to it, right?
Correct.
So I have people like that, and I have web developer people who, if I need a web page designed, I hire out for that. I don't do that kind of stuff, but I have ideas, but I need help. I don't do WordPress sites, so there are limits to what I can do, but I think my messaging though needs to come from me, honestly. So
I mean, it shows. Again, that's probably why I'm a fangirl. I bought your chair upholstery class. I told you that's how I kind of, I was just kind of going through your website and taking the class, and I was just like, man, this is just so well put together. And then I'll confess. So I was on there and you're like, oh, I'll respond. I think in your first module, you're explaining the course to it. And I was like, she is not going to respond. And I did. I asked a question in the very last module, and it was probably within 2 to 3 hours you had a message on there. And I was like, all right, I like this. Yep. And then even when I reached out to you on DM'd you were right on it. And I was like, okay, so I really respect that. And I love that.
I try, I try to be, I try to respond to everything I see, as much as I can. So
even the all the ladies who are taking your class, you have your private Facebook group, you get on there and you praise their projects. And I don't know. I just think that you're very unique, and I love that. So I'll quit, keep fangirling on you. But so are you still in your job, or did you quit?
I did quit my day job back in 2018. Yeah, that was a very happy day. To do this full time. But then, then it was a lot of pressure, it was a lot of pressure to make enough money. And figuring out along the way, how was I going to do this? What am I going to try? So it was a tough couple of years. And then I kind of got in the groove and things started going really well. My chairs were selling really well. After that, I opened my online courses and those have done really well. And now I'm doing this art line and that's starting out pretty well so far. So, it's, everything. I'm always changing and always growing to keep it interesting for me.
No, you have to. And I think that's why it just continues to be successful. Okay. I know that you have a daughter. Do you only have a daughter?
I have two daughters.
Okay. So what do they think of mom with all of this?
I think that, I think they're pretty proud of me, actually. Yeah. We've done, parties at my house. Like I wrote a book a couple years ago in 2023 and did a big book launch party at my home and like 200 people bought tickets. It was insane, but they got to do a house tour and then go to my studio and back and my greenhouse. And we had a camper at the time. So you got to do the whole tour and you got a book. And then we had snacks and drinks. And, so my daughters were both here for that. And a lot of people were going up to them, asking them questions like that, like, what do you think of your mom? But no, I think they're proud of me. They both have different paths from each other and from me of what they're doing. But I think that they like what I'm doing, that, I know that compared to their other friends' moms, I am very different in that, what I'm doing. Their friends would come over and they would say, you guys have a Pinterest house, so this was the ongoing joke when they were all in high school. But, yeah, I think they're proud of me, I think we're kind of all proud of each other, No,
and I think that's important. I have two daughters also. And so it's been, them being under the spotlight, a little bit different with mine because I got franchisees, that are kind of, one of them kind of said the other day, they're like, I felt like I didn't get to do my childhood because I was always under the Clean Eats brand, I couldn't, cause we warned her like, hey, you shouldn't drink and drive anyway. But, it's not you, it's the brand's, daughter, so but now, they work, here in the company too. And I think as they get older from us being different or, we become cool at some point of that,
right?
Or when they start realizing the real world out there and stuff. So if you had to give them like a piece of advice, which I'm sure you've gave them multiple advices, but or maybe the grandbabies that are on their way, what's one thing you're like, man, if I knew in my 20s, this is what I want you to do, or 30s. How old are they? Are they 20s?
So they're in their 20s, both of them. Yeah, not married yet or anything. No grandkids yet, but that'll come, I'm sure, at some point. But I think my piece of advice would be, to bet on yourself. No matter what you're doing, if there's something that you really want, something you want to achieve, or, I would say to bet on yourself and to try, because regardless of the way that it works out, you learn a lot about yourself. You stretch yourself, you grow. Not everything I've done has been successful. There's been some hard, as an entrepreneur, it's hard. So, it's not like a given that everything just falls in my lap. No, I think, my husband was saying this weekend, we were talking about this, how sometimes I feel guilty that I like what I do. Like pretty much as an adult, every real job that I've had, I had crappy jobs as a teenager, just like everybody. Everyone needs those, right, to appreciate. But, since I've had regular jobs, I've always found ways to feed my creativity, and that's very important to me. And I feel guilty sometimes because I have gotten to do jobs throughout my adulthood that I've really loved, and I thrive in, and it gives me meaning. And, but my husband said, this didn't just happen to you. Like you engineered this by really hard work. And it is true. Like I have worked very hard, and so that's what I would say to my girls. I would say, bet on yourself and then work really hard if it's something you really want, whatever it could be. Running a marathon. They both ran marathons yesterday, in Dallas, and so that they worked hard for months, eating the right things, training, all the things, and, I think the one thing in our family, like all four of us are basically kind of go-getters, in our own way for our own type of things. None of us are the same by any means, but we all kind of have that trait, I think.
If you look back, I always feel like there was clues back in our childhood that probably you can look back now and see like, yeah, I was supposed to be here. I was just using an example the other day, like mud pies underneath. I always had restaurants going on underneath our trees and mud pies and, all that. So can you look back now and be like, yep, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
It's interesting because like I cared about my bedroom. I cared how things looked. I mean, not excessively, but for a kid, I kind of decorated in my own way. And I think I always loved creative projects. I had these little books. I had this one little book and I remember it had hearts and it was all this Valentine crafts thing inside this little booklet that showed you how to do really fun crafts, with construction paper and whatever. And I just loved that book. Like and I would do the projects and out of it. And like, the hands-on thing. I also think that I've always gravitated to creativity and colorful things, since I was a kid. I think, when you're in your 50s, you start figuring out why you did things the way you did them. I don't know if I could have ever figured this out before now, but, a lot of it was we had a very tumultuous home. My parents, did not get along. My mom was really a very difficult person. And so it was really hard. So because of that, and she passed away this past December. So it's been almost a year that she died. And so now I can kind of look at things easier, and try to be honest with myself about why I've pushed myself so hard, why I work so hard, why I need creativity and color to bring me joy, because it was lacking, like in my home, I think. And so it made me who I am, for better or worse. It has made me who I am, and I'm grateful for it. Yes, would I have loved to have had a easier mom with a close relationship with her? Yes, of course, all of us wanted that in our family, but it was just she wasn't able because the things she went through. Right. So, so you start reflecting on all these things of why am I the way I am? I wished I would have known this in my 20s, but I don't think I could have known this. I didn't have the maturity, to know it.
I agree with that 100%. I think that we don't, that there has to be lessons learned along the way. And even with your mom's relationship, there's relationships in my life too, that you're like, why did this happen? And I think, you know what? They were there for a lesson that I learned early on that I didn't have to repeat maybe in my 50s, so yeah. I really do think that we're always in the right spot at the right time. And it happened for the exact reason of all of that.
Yeah. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have that mother.
Yep.
Like I wouldn't. And so instead of me wishing it had been different, I'm grateful for who I've become, and that brings me a lot of peace, with it.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. I got to ask, what's your favorite piece that you got going on? Or what's your favorite piece that you've ever created? And it can be past, present, future, see some future things you're working on. It's actually this is a
settee?
settee. Yeah, it's there it is. Yeah. And yeah, that's my favorite. And I did it when I was first learning upholstery. In my class, I did this at home outside of class, but I had learned the techniques. And so I did this back in 2012. I finished it at the end of 2012 and put it right here in my kitchen. I got it for $100 off of Craigslist back at the time because that was the hot place to shop. And, man, it's the best thing ever. I'm never going to let go of this thing. I have reupholstered it to change it up just because I put in wallpaper and I needed something different on top of it. But I love this piece. I'm always going to keep it. Do you think the new influencers that are all in the Goodwill thrifters, are they making things crazy for you at the time to find
No, I think the more the merrier, honestly. No, it makes me really happy because, I mean, there are so many people who want custom chairs, need chairs, there's enough for everybody, so I think it's great. I think everyone has their own style too, so that's why I really encourage the ladies in our course, because it's mostly ladies. I think we have 2 men in the course. The rest of them they're all women. But I mean, I just encourage everyone to make the chairs of your dreams, use your creativity, express your personality through this. And there's not a right or a wrong, it's, and that's the good news is that you can, become more creative just by creating things that you really, really love. And who cares if other people don't like it, as long as you like it, because not everybody likes pink like I do, and that's okay too. It's okay to like black, it's whatever you like it. That's what I say.
I know. I did get my chair and I am doing pink just because I kind of wanted to follow. Yeah. We'll see I don't know where it's going to go.
Okay.
But we'll see where it goes. But okay, so final words. If who is listening to this and they are thinking about maybe starting a business, quitting their job, or taking that first step into this creative mode, what do you tell them?
Okay, so if you're thinking about doing a creative job, what I would say is lean into being scrappy. Don't spend a lot of money at first. Try some things out in small doses and be smart about it. And don't listen to the rules that have always been said. You have to do business this certain way. You have to, whatever it is, the have tos. No, I would say don't listen to that. Do it your way, because that's the only way that you're going to ever stand out is if you do your own way, you do it your own touch. You do it your own style. That is the only way to be different and to stand out and to actually possibly make it, And so I would say be scrappy and do it your way. Make up your own rules as you go and pay attention to the feedback that you get and, change directions if you need to. But just don't be afraid to try some things and be real scrappy at it. Because I think that's where real success can come. And you learn so many lessons along the way, oh my goodness, I learned so many lessons. I made so many mistakes, but that's okay because it was just feedback, right? So I could do it better the next time.
Okay, I have to ask you, what was one of your biggest fails then? You said so many lessons. Tell me some of them.
Yeah, so one big one was my pricing on my chairs. I didn't price them high enough at first. Of course, I couldn't make enough money to quit my day job because I didn't price my chairs where they needed to be. And one thing I realized along the way is the higher the price, the more respect that you get, the more people feel that it's more valuable. Instead of, because listen, who doesn't love a deal? We all love deals, right? We all shop, sales and whatever. But when it's artist created, that is different. And when you set high prices, maybe not everyone can afford it, but everyone wants it. And there are people who can afford it. And when you have something priced really low, it's kind of like, ooh, what's wrong with that? Why is that so cheap? it must be cheap. And if you start paying attention to how you shop and what you think about things, and so that is something, it took me several years to get the courage to raise my prices, and start charging what I was worth. And once I started doing that, I got more orders. So it's very strange, but yeah, that was a big mistake. So once I started doing that, it got more realistic that I could quit my day job,
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you?
Oh, yeah. So you can find me at chairwhimsy.com is my website, at Chair Whimsy on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest. I'm at all of them.
Well, again, thank you for being on here today. We got so much information, and it was just one of my personal, fangirl moments. So
Oh,
thank you.
thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.